Thank you for coming today, and thank you to our panel for participating in our panel discussion on best practices for developing and teaching online fitness classes on the fly during a pandemic. It's been an experience the last couple of years. Our presenters on the far end is Grace DeSimone. She has over 30 years of experience in the health and wellness industry, most recently serving as the National Group Fitness Director for Optum's Workplace Wellbeing, where she and her team managed over 2,000 weekly group exercise classes for companies across the U.S. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in dance from Hunter College and is certified by the ACSM as a group exercise instructor and personal trainer. On this end of the table, Melissa Lopez is an ACSM certified personal trainer with over 4 years of experience specializing in strength training, weight loss, muscle gain, and dance fitness. She graduated with a BS in fitness and wellness leadership and a minor in nutrition from SUNY Plattsburgh. Kory Angelin is the Chief Operating Officer at VoloFit by Tough Mudder. He's an award-winning fitness business coach and has helped some of the largest fitness entities grow their brand. Anthony Carrano, thank you, is currently a physical education instructional coach for New York City Department of Education, an adjunct professor at Brooklyn College, the NYC Zone President for New York State AFR, and martial arts instructor for the Hodokan system of martial arts. Anthony is well known for his passion in helping individuals achieve a life of physical literacy and has dedicated his life to the continuous growth and development in our field. And finally, Richard Joseph. He's a certified personal trainer and functional movement specialist. Rich holds a bachelor's degree in exercise science and is a 2023 candidate for a master's in movement science and physical education at Teachers College, Columbia University. Richard's training began in 2011 at a local community gym, where he became floor manager, educating members on how to use the gym for optimal results. I think we can all agree that life changed dramatically for us 2 years ago. I was serving as a consultant at the time in the fitness industry, and I had a new client that I saw on Friday, March 13th. For the first time, and we had a business plan, and we were rocking and rolling, physical therapy, fitness, etc. And on Monday at 8 p.m., the governor shut everybody down. So, how do you scramble? How do you take the next step so that you can, be productive or do the right thing by the community and perhaps make a living? And that's what we're all here to talk about. So, who wants to start? Go for it.
Hey everybody. Yeah, as you said, it was crazy. Me personally, I had about 25 clients in Brooklyn, and we got shut down. And then some people just left and went upstate. Some people went to Vermont, and I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? Because I can't see all these people. And then I was like, all right, let me try this Zoom thing. So I first made like a makeshift gym in my apartment in Brooklyn, and then I started practicing in front of the camera and seeing like how it would be. I would make my wife go to the other room, and I would like direct her on things and correct her form exercise, see how it went, and then I transitioned to go to Zoom, and there's a lot of learning on the fly. It's a lot harder when you're trying to, and I'm sure that's all you can agree, like trying to like correct form, trying to get people to do the right, trying to give them specific cues, right? Like, don't hip hinge instead of squat. And things like that. It's very hard to explain that over camera, and so you have to do things, think about things a little bit more in depth on how you're going to communicate it. But it worked out. And now I have some people who like moved permanently to Chicago upstate, and I still see them via Zoom. Anybody want to go next?
So would you say it was not just a swift kick in the butt, but also an opportunity?
Yeah, it became a major opportunity because as I said, like I have other people in other states now, whether it's Chicago, Florida, different time zones, who still want to train via Zoom, right? So that's a market I never had before. So it became a big opportunity.
Cool. Somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, such a great point. Pre-COVID, I was the director for F45, which now is the largest boutique fitness company in the world, which is good and bad. And we had 2,800 studios. And then when COVID hit, you could imagine there was mass panic. And so we were forced to go online. What I would say about digital fitness and online fitness, because he brought up such a great point, is you need a social presence. So what I started to do with 2,800 studios is talk to owners of the businesses and head coaches about just getting yourself out there, making the comfortable uncomfortable, and essentially building a social presence. So yes, that means Instagram. And some of you might be like, "Oh my God, I don't want to do anything with Instagram." But the reality is you need to. And the myth is that you need thousands and thousands of followers. You don't. You just want to be a thought leader and a place to go to. So eventually you can sell what you're selling, which is your online fitness business. And so doing that will start to create some consistency, because to have a presence online really comes down to being consistent and just having content, and content that's educational. And so I think as you move forward, it's something to think about. There's a million YouTube videos about how you optimize your Instagram bio and how do you put a link tree up. They're really, really simple. It's just you got to take the step forward to start doing that, and it'll make all of your call to actions um, a lot more effective when you're putting out content. And it'll also make it easier to feel like you're not selling. And no one really likes to sell. But the reality is we're all selling something. I always say trainers are the best salespeople, because we're trying to sell you something that you can't picture yet. You know, you're going for a watch, you could put the Apple Watch on, you could feel it. All right. We don't know, you can't feel how it feels to lose 20 pounds yet if it hasn't happened yet. And so, probably some good points there just to make the comfortable uncomfortable.
Selling the dream, selling the intangible.
Hello, everyone. So my field is slightly different, but very similar. So as physical educators, our clients don't leave, right? I work for the Department of Education. So with that, we have 1.1 million children that we have to serve no matter what. But they will tell you that they're disengaged by shutting off their camera. That's a good, sign that you're probably doing things that they don't care too much about. So as we've moved to, phys ed teachers, it was definitely a huge, um, you know, concern because, just as the fitness industry, we're in person and a lot of our stuff is physical. So what do we do in now the home setting? And, teachers have gotten very creative. And the students, again, or the classes with the most cameras on are usually a good sign that the kids want to be there and they're excited to be there. So I've gotten to see, as my role is I help to supervise many physical education teachers throughout the borough. So I had to help give support and say, now they're looking at me saying, well, what can I do? So, there's a couple different things that teachers have done and that I've suggested as well, and they've gotten very creative with. So, there's interactive presentations and things such as Nearpod, Kahoot, Pear Deck. If you're taking any college classes, maybe some of your professors have used some of these things, but it's just ways to make your time with them engaging. They actually have to click on the screen. They have to do certain things. Google Classroom. A huge one is Flipgrid. So even as personal trainers, we could definitely use that as well, because students have to record them doing, for example, a motor skill. So teaching the overhand throw, a student actually has to record about a 15-second video of them doing that, and then I can comment on it, and I can say, oh, well, be sure to step forward with the left foot. Be sure to follow through. And then you might ask, well, how are we doing overhand throwing in a home setting? And teachers have gotten very creative with that as well. They've done things like folded up socks, or if you take your sock and you have a ball and throw it against the wall. People have taken like little pails and you can underhand toss it into a pail or things like that. Because as physical educators, we do want to keep our students motivated, exciting, and excited, and we want it to be fun and engaging. So we try to do the best that we can to incorporate a variety of different things. Like I said, maybe balling up a sock and throwing it against a wall. I'm sure you could think about that as being some type of med ball throw. And, it's not the ideal situation, but it's enough to preserve a motor skill or a small degree of power that someone might need. So, as physical educators, I'd say we've gotten very creative in the field with many interactive, platforms. Like I said, Kahoot, Pear Deck, Flipgrid, things of that nature. And we did our best to also create very fun and engaging and exciting activities, even though we're in the home setting. The last piece I'll give you as well is many have created little short, like 1-2 minute videos of games that kids can do at home. If you just Google, phys ed teach from home, there's a lot of great stuff. Even as a personal trainer, if you're doing a Tabata in a home setting or some type of little circuit at home, it can definitely give you some ideas of things that you can do with your students. So I'll leave it with that.
Cool. Melissa?
Hi, everyone. So going back into the side of personal training, it was definitely like a little bit tough for me, especially being a new trainer at the time. So I really had to be, like what Anthony was saying, a little bit more creative with my programming. So I was like learning at the same time during that process. Okay, we're gonna start exercising with little to even no equipment. So learning how to use the body weight to like focus on specific muscle groups of the body. Take out your water jugs. Like we're gonna use that as weight. Bring your towels out. We're gonna use that for resistance. So we really had to learn how to be more creative with our workouts. And honestly, it was definitely a great opportunity. I would say that, even though it was a setback, because I did learn how to have more tools under my box for even when I'm training back in the gym. So it definitely helped me expand my horizon. Another thing, I was also keeping it engaging because I know, like, luckily I was working for Equinox at the time, and they were really fast with creating a virtual training program online. So they had their own setup. They had the virtual training online, and they would display the exercises that I created for the client right on their screen. So that was pretty helpful. But my point is keeping it engaging. They're at home. They're training at home. And it's not the same as being in a gym filled with people. Like, you're used to going to a gym, being in a community filled with people that want to achieve the same goals as you. So that's a little bit more motivating. Now they're at home by themselves with their dog. I don't know. So you really had to just be a little bit like more upbeat and more energy and kind of create a little bit more of a motivating environment for them, and always relate to like every exercise they're doing to their ultimate goal. Yeah, we're going to keep doing push-ups all the time, but that's going to help you get stronger in the long run, right? That's going to help you look tone in your upper body, always relating that to their goal because you want to keep them in track with their goal. And then second point is we really had to learn how to like double down on their movement, nutrition, and regeneration at home. Since they're working from home now, most of them, they're at home more often. So I really had to make sure, okay, are you active outside of our sessions, or are you just stuck at home? You're not getting your steps in. All right, so that's a problem. Second, nutrition. You're at home more often, so are you eating more often? Are you snacking more often? All that stuff. Regeneration, has your sleeping changed since you're at home all the time? So really have to focus on their daily habits because their situation or setting has changed. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was definitely an opportunity. It was a setback initially, but I definitely learned a lot from it, and my clients did as well.
Awesome. Grace?
Hello, it's on. Hi, everyone. My name is Grace. I work in corporate wellness, which is a very different environment than commercial fitness or wellness. So what the company that I work for, which is Optum, owned by United Healthcare, I'm sure everyone knows that, our management division manages on-site fitness for corporations. So if you're a company, you hire us We come in, we supply staffing and programming for your company. Pre-pandemic, we had 2,200 group fitness classes operating each week across the country. And as the pandemic swept across the country, all of those corporations were shutting down. And for the first time in the history of this organization, all the gates were down. And because we're very gated. You have a lot of liability. We don't do anything without going up and down the food chain of commands for what's going to happen. And you're in people's companies. We're a company within a company, so there's a lot of red tape. Gates are down. What are we going to do? So in 2 weeks, we had a digital community. Myself and one of my coworkers, we moderated every day, Monday through Friday. We hosted a series for our clients, and they were all invited to come. And the stars of, sometimes we were the talent, but we brought in our nutritionists, yoga instructors, whatever, every day had a theme. And the night before every broadcast, we spent probably 3 or 4 hours doing what you did with your wife. What's your background? Get the vodka bottle off the bookshelf. Can you tie your cat down while we're doing the broadcast? Because we're very conservative because it's corporate. And we created these daily broadcasts and did them for 9 weeks. So 45 broadcasts later, we finished the series. In the meantime, all of our group exercise instructors were now transitioning. Our personal trainers were transitioning to learn to be online talent. And it was not easy. But what Rich mentioned is what we learned. And what I wound up doing was creating an online education series for the talent, group fitness instructors. That's my core competency. Look in the camera, record yourself, get somebody to watch what you're doing, clear your background, learn to use visual cues, right? Because speak slowly when you're speaking and, notice where your body is in the camera. You have to adjust your own camera. The other thing that we did, that if you have an environment that would allow you to do this, have a moderator. Because it's very hard to be the talent and the production, right? You're running around trying to, somebody can't see, or they're chatting in, we can't hear you. So what we did is, and we had a lot of people that were furloughed, a moderator and the instructor or the trainer, so that somebody was with you. And also that person does the very, very, very important thing that happens before and after every session. And if anybody here does boutique training, you work in a group, or you come into class, what does everybody do before class? Talk. What does everybody do after class? Talk. So what did we do before and after each session? We talked. And that's what the moderator, we actually, gave them, like, here's some icebreakers, here's some things you can talk about. So before each session, each class, we chatted, and that kept your community alive. And then after the class, kept your community alive. If we had social media channels, which a lot of in corporations, you have what we call Slack channels, which is like a place for people to chat. The instructor would get on there, and they would be paid for their time to get chatting with their class, and hey, who's coming tomorrow, and here's what we're going to be doing, because that's what you do in your physical environments. The exciting thing that happened in our world, which has forever changed, and we don't know what's going to happen next because we haven't turned the page yet, so we don't know. The next chapter is going to be writing itself right now. We had equity that we never had before, because in corporate wellness, you always have like the big fancy corporate office, and it has all the big fancy things and the big fancy gym. And then you have the little office in the middle of the country that's, we only have 50 employees here. Oh, what did you get? Oh, we got a yoga class that we have once a week. And these people have the $1 million gym that has 50 classes a week. But for the first time, we had across the nation and internationally people coming to these classes. It was amazing. And the people who don't come to class because it's an embarrassing environment. You're at work, now you're working out next to your boss. I don't want to do that. Safe. It was the fitness protection program. That's what I called it. Turning their camera off and they could participate in the class. Now that we're coming back into the office environment, those people are rock stars. They've been practicing with the instructor that they might not have been too keen on taking. I don't know what goes on in there. Now they know. So we gained a lot of people that we didn't have. We lost a lot of people that we had that were like, it's not for me, I'll go out for a run. The people who are fit and self-motivated and disciplined maybe didn't want to be in front of a camera. And now we're going to see what's going to happen next. Because what's going to happen next is we have to blend both of those mediums. We can't take digital away. We can't take online away. We have to keep it. And we're going to be engaging those people in person. So it's going to be really interesting. But as you all are thinking about your future in your careers, those of you who are thinking about that, that is going to be the future. It's not going to go away. It'll find its middle, but I believe the middle, and I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks, is going to be a hybrid of digital and in person. And skill sets for each of those are similar, but different. When you're in front of a camera, it is a different thing. And we found a lot of our staff was amazing in front of a camera, and a lot of people were like, I'm out. I don't want to do this. Really uncomfortable. So people, you find out a lot about yourself.
Excellent.
It's a great research study when I was with Les Mills, huge group fitness instructor. Les Mills is notorious for group fitness in the entire world. If you've ever anyone take a body pump class ever? Oh, she has. I love that. You could demonstrate for us today if you'd like. Okay, you've taken it. The thing about Les Mills is they also do a lot of research. They partner up with Penn State University, and so a lot of their classes are based off of science-backed research. And one of the things that has always stuck with me was a study that said, when you have an online fitness program as a complement to what you're doing in studio, or depending upon what facility you're doing it in, it actually increases memberships by 20%. The thought used to be is that if you have online, it's going to cannibalize your memberships, but that is actually not true. And so to your point exactly, having that, because ultimately the consumer owns the market, which is interesting because it never was like that. In the old days, pre-COVID, you would have the closest gym to you. You might have another gym somewhere around there, and really you're deciding between one or two gyms. But the gym really owned the market at that point. Now you could just go online and train with anyone, and so the consumers own the market. So it's really interesting how that gets married. I always say it just complements what your in-person offering. So
yeah, another piece that you made me think of how the future is going to be blending, the virtual world, and I would definitely say that phys ed teachers have done a great job of taking students to, I guess you could almost say, like another universe or the metaverse or another place virtually. If you think a little bit like Peloton, you're able to do, you're riding your bike in your house, but you're also following a road that could be anywhere. You can choose to go to Europe and do a tour in Europe. You can go to Asia and do a tour over there. And so, figuring out how to take students to a whole separate world, that's where this has definitely benefited us. When I was also teaching, so at a certain point I was redeployed. So that means all central staff that was supporting schools had to go back in and teach in schools. And I had a video from a trip that I went on where I was pretty much explaining how to do outdoor rock climbing and, how to belay and how to do different things. And it was a great opportunity to be able to show my students. I took them on a trip to Austin. I went to visit a friend in Austin, and we did rock climbing out there, and all my students got to go rock climbing with me. So I was able to take them to this whole other place that they've never been to before, and I was able to teach them what resources that I wouldn't normally have in my gymnasium by recording a video and bringing that in. And like I said, I've definitely used the different types of like running trails and things like that. You know, you can really take students outside of the classroom into a whole new virtual world. And there's no doubt that with things like VR and, you know, things of that nature, we're moving into the metaverse. You know, one teacher said to me, "What about if we had every student, you know, put on a VR set in the class? You know, they stand inside a hula hoop and they all have a VR set, and we can do this whole interactive thing with them like that." And I was like, "Wow, that's super interesting. Let's see if we could get funding for it." And some people think, "Oh no, there's no way," but there's always a way to get funding for something. There's always an organization looking to support. But so the point is that you can take students outside of the class, and that was something that was great that happened, to a whole nother universe, a whole nother place, a whole nother country. You know, and you could teach them things with resources that you wouldn't normally have inside your gym or inside your home setting.
Excellent. If you think about in commercial, corporate, community fitness, you go back 30 years when they suddenly introduced indoor cycling, and it was a hot, this club has it now and the other club has it now. It became a trend. Now you can't go into a multi-service club without either you have it or you're out of business. You have to have indoor cycling, even if it's not the most popular anymore as it used to be back in the 90s. Is that where you see virtual group fitness or fitness programming, classes, training, etc.? Do you see it staying over the long haul, and perhaps even like you just described, you know, sort of coming to the fork in the road and developing into its own little animal in commercial, in corporate, and all the other fitness venues that we work in?
I'd say,
is it here to stay?
I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's like going to be the only thing we do to explain that. I mean, like for instance, there's I don't know if anybody saw, the Marriott Hotel has fitness rooms, like the room that you go to sleep in is a fitness room, and they have like either like a Peloton or like a yoga, yeah, and you have a space in your hotel room where you can work out, right? And you pay a little extra for that to stay there. And I think, you know, they're thinking about that, right? Like it's here to stay. But you do have some people, like I have some people who much rather in person. Like after 2020, when I had everybody, as soon as we were able to go outside, they started feeling more comfortable again. They wanted to be in person. So I like Grace said, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. So it's here to stay, but I don't think we're going to completely go to the other side, because there's something about, and also something that's not really talked about in training, physical education. There's a personal connection with the work that we do, right? So like people stay with you for years, or people, because they connect with you and you're able to motivate them. You have to figure out who they are as a person, what's going to motivate them, what's not, right? And that's a little harder virtually. I don't know if anybody has.
Go, you go, then I'll go.
You were saying. So in regards to the hybrid of both, so even like right now, it's been so helpful. So it's like one of my clients, oh, I'm going on vacation and I still want to work out. Okay, so virtual training, we're still going to train. Boom, it's so helpful. So it's definitely going to be a combination of both, and in-person training is always going to be essential. It's always going to be there because we all like, not everyone, but we all like that human interaction, that personal connection that we get with the like in-person training. There's a lot of people that prefer that, but it's definitely helpful to have a blend of the two.
I agree. And we all know how to do this now. 2 years ago, are you going to train your client virtually? What? But now we all know how to do it. Everybody knows how to use Zoom, what it is, how it works. In the corporate wellness environment, we just created the first virtual fitness expert. New thing. Because in that environment, not everybody's coming back to office. We're not sure how that's going to work, but 97% of people surveyed say, I want to have the flexibility that I need. So chances are they're probably not going to come back to work every day. And you know what else we all learned to do? We all learned to work out at home if we wanted to. So we are actually we're skill based in areas that we didn't have before. So I agree, like all trends, we're all tipped to the side. It's going to find its way to the middle. But what some of the other things that we're looking at are AI enhanced tools that our trainers can use so the clients get used to, because we partner with different vendors, so we have apps that the clients use that the trainers can interface with, so no matter where the client goes, the workout's following them, the trainer's following them, and it's going to be a game changer. And in the introduction of that, the trainers all pushed back. You're trying to replace us with technology, and that can't be further from the truth. We're enhancing you with technology. And I lived through VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, right? Group fitness. Oh my gosh, now people can do this at home. It never replaces us, it enhances us. So embrace the tools, because that's all they are. They're tools. So where I feel we're going to find our way down the middle, but that digital toolbox will be necessary.
I think too. What I'm sure everyone on here has done as well is think about your value proposition or your added value. It's not. I guarantee you, these people don't just train people, right? So in a group environment at F45, every single week we had a guest speaker as a webinar. Everyone was invited to it. Super simple and engaging. So it's not just about the workout. You might have a nutritionist on. You might have a mental health wellness expert on, which was key during the pandemic. But it's really about the added value. So as you move forward, if you are thinking about online fitness, think about what your own value proposition is, because that'll feed into really what ultimately you're going to offer the consumer. And it's got to be unique, and it's got to be something other than just one thing.
Yeah.
To go back to what you were saying about is it here to stay? I think something else that's going to be interesting is how all the new products affect us regionally. Because I think when I think of New York, I think like we always have a lack of time, right, or a lack of patience, and want to do a bunch of things. So I think like when we see things like the Mirror, Peloton, even Tonal, like I think that's very appealing to most of us because we can just do it at home. But I don't know what that's like for the South, for the West. Whether they're rather go to a gym or not. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
With the importance or the effect that social support, for example, plays on people exercising. Group X, for example, where you're in a group, you have the energy, you have your camaraderie, you have the peer pressure, and all the other little tidbits that positively impact your behavior. I'm going to show up because Mary's going to be there. All right, Mary's working really hard, so I got to work really hard. Yeah, and all those things that make it appealing and drive your behavior. Are there ways that virtually you can achieve the same thing that you've done and has been successful? Or are there other tools you can use through virtual to get the same effect?
There's definitely apps, that you can use to check in, with people and, have that community sense going. There will be things that you will have in person that you will just never, ever be able to get virtually. It's just, and there's also things that you'll have virtually that you'll never be able to get in person. There's going to be benefits to both, and they're both going to be great tools that could be used. But I think there are many great apps to be able to stay connected and engaged, where maybe I can follow a friend and follow a partner, and as I see their growth, that excites me. I'm able to see my growth and measure. We stay connected. We have accountability check-ins. I know that's a big deal for some people. It helps to motivate them and keep them engaged. And, so I definitely think there's a place for that lives in the world of apps and check-ins and things like that, for sure.
Agreed. Who did the poster on accountability? They're not here. Social support. So, what made people feel better? Being in a group. What do people do before and after the group? Talk. Thank you. So, and whatever your medium is, I have a group that I took all the way through the pandemic. I do small group training in a gym. There was no gym, so we did it at home. We just message. I create the message, and everybody wants to chat, and they want to know what's going on. Small group of people, took them all the way through. 10 people started in the beginning of the pandemic. 10 people, I still have them. And when the gym opened and they can come back, they're all back at the gym. And I did it kind of as an experiment. At first I did it because I had to do something. But what I learned was we kept each other going, just like you do in a physical environment. So creating the tools around that, it doesn't have to be complicated. The question is, how big is the group that you're managing? Or if you're a personal trainer, how many clients are you managing? Do you need an app that would assist you? Or are you just using simple tools? You're just using your instant message and messaging everybody, hey, what's happening? Our group fitness instructors went on the corporate Slack channel and, hey, everybody, it's Jessica. I'll be here tomorrow. This is what the workout's going to be. What do you guys want for the playlist? Boom, 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 boom. And they would, everybody would vote on what the song of the day was going to be. Very simple things to be engaged. And then, are you going? I'm going. Are you going? Oh, it's what people do when they see each other. Are you going tomorrow? Oh, I'm going. Oh, if you're going, then I'm going. Oh, I want to call and see if the other person's going. Those are the simple things that you need to do to keep your accountability, but it's the social interaction. So it doesn't have to be complicated. Think about what you do now. If you engage in an activity, what excites you about it and what makes you go back? And if you're training people or delivering a service, what are the things that work? And you keep test driving it. It's like, well, that didn't work. Let's try this, right? But you'll get to a couple of really simple ones and you just keep repeating them. It doesn't really have to be hard, but it does need to be consistent. You can't just expect that you're going to offer a service and you put the time out there and everybody's just going to show up. You want to give them some things to excite them about it. Kind of like your own little commercial for what's coming, right? Go ahead.
Adding on to that, I also think that that social media is a huge tool with engaging people with online training, and even training in person. So like, oh, I'm going to record you doing the squat, and then you're going to look at it and you could post it, and I'm going to post it, and then I'm going to brag about how you just PR your squat, and they're going to love that. Like, that's going to keep them like wanting to come in. Like, oh my God, like I can't believe I squat this much, or I can't believe like I did a push up from the floor. Like, that's just going to keep them engaged, and the whole community is going to be included in that too. So her friend's going to see it, and then her friend's going to want to like just continue doing stuff like that too. And even like Facebook groups, like that helps too. That helps build a community with your clients as well, and keeps them engaged because they can interact with each other in that environment as well.
And I think a little piece to add is also like challenges and events. So, for example, if we all have an event that we're preparing for, it makes it very motivating. And then we have that opportunity where we're all together. We all have this emotional experience that we share. And then even though when we go back to the virtual world and we're still connecting there, we still have that bond that won't just go away so easily. So, and to your point with social media, having some of those challenges, I'm sure everybody's seen like the push-up challenge, and then you tag a friend, and challenges, events are all great opportunities when you're in the virtual world.
Anybody have any questions for our panel? Hang on, the mic's going back to you.
New York, we can hear.
For the Zoom people.
But he's from New England.
Yeah, whistle for the taxi, right? Engaging teenagers in this type of programming they've just been so hard hit by the pandemic, mental health wise, and they're so zoomed out. And also the use of active video games. I'm very interested if anyone has any comments on that.
Can you repeat though? So the question is, how do you engage teens, or?
Yeah, one, how do you engage teens, and two, how could active video games? That's one thing we're trying in my research group, is the use of group active video games as a way to engage teenagers with chronic diseases. So it's an idea that we've had, and we're doing live stream video game classes to try and get them. But that group chat is just not working for the teenagers. And I was just at Society for Behavioral Medicine talking with several other diabetes people who were doing various forms of group interaction, either shared medical appointments or group coping skills, and they just said the teens just do not want to talk, do not want to turn their cameras on. They've just been so hard hit by all of this Zoom stuff, and I'm just wondering if anyone has any thoughts or advice on that.
I would say it also depends what age group of teens. I know you have early teens, you have later teens, but in middle school, kids are just hitting puberty, and they're super self-conscious, and they're going to be very concerned about their peers and what their peers think of them. So to put on a camera and embarrass myself, someone could say something, that's a tremendous deal. That has to be considered, I think, for teens, is how am I going to break that social, moment for them? Maybe I allow them to keep their camera off. Maybe I, do something to engage them so that they feel comfortable and safe. They care more about their friends than anything at that age as well. You are always, as fitness experts, just thinking, how do you motivate someone? What excites them? In high school and that age, if you find somebody attractive, that's usually very, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. There's things that motivate teens that don't motivate adults as much. It's usually their peers, and it's usually the first time they're finding love. They care more about their friends more than they care about adults. So figuring out how to engage that. I have a younger brother. He loves going, virtually and hanging out with his friends and playing video games with his friends, and couldn't care less about hanging out with me or my father or anyone else. And so, just thinking a little bit about that social environment that you're creating is probably the most important thing, and thinking about the fact that they're always considering what they think their peers think about themselves. So how do you break that barrier down?
Yeah, to add to his point, I think he made a bunch of excellent points, and the friend aspect is huge. But one thing that Grace was saying that I find work with teens, and I work with teens in a smaller group, but is music, right? Like music is big for them. They connect to it, and them being able to pick some songs, you being able to like pick some songs. Like for me and the teens that I work with, it's we listen to hip hop. I'm an old head to them. I'm old school, right? So I'm gonna play something from early 2000s, and they're gonna play something from now, right? And then we could, go back and forth, and that creates something where they feel comfortable and they can talk about things, and then they become that shell is broken a little bit.
You play that on a compact disc?
Cassette tape.
Anybody else? Questions? Yes.
Through this transition, but yep. Could you maybe comment on the conditioning of your clients through the process? Are they in better shape, worse shape? Depends on the individual. Just curious to your comments.
As a high level answer, mentally stronger but physically weaker until they actually get back into wherever nothing beats in person. I think we've made that point. And it will always be like that because people like to be with other people for the most part. And so that's a cheesy answer, but honestly, it's probably, we did provide a lot of stimulating well-being, but let's be honest, from a physical standpoint, if you're going to a gym or you're working out in a group fitness class, nothing beats that in person. So just by default, you're going to be a little bit deconditioned.
I think if you could just break even with COVID, you're doing a great job.
So definitely to add what he said, I think it depends on the person. What I mean by that is like I had some clients who broke many plateaus because they were at home and they were able to focus on exercise a lot more and focus on eating, controlling what they eat a lot more. So a lot of times I have people who go to the office and they have food around the office and they just eat all day and work all day, right? Versus now they're controlling, they're cooking more, they're preparing their food more, and they're working out more. They have equipment and they're working out more every day. But then there's the other side where it's like the complete opposite, where they're at home and they're bored and they eat while they're bored, and they're not working out. They're not as engaged to work out by themselves. So it really depends. I don't know how it would be overall landscape, but to what he said, I definitely think mentally stronger for sure.
I think it also depends what you have access to and what you want to be fit for. If you want to be an MMA fighter, you got to be in the ring fighting. And if you don't have a ring at home and you don't have people to fight with, you're not going to be fit for fighting. You know, so like it's what you have access to, what you want to be fit for. I know some people that were lucky enough to have access to things that others didn't during this time, and they got very fit. You know, they were still going to the gym and still working out and still had access to weights, or still had access to a climbing gym and they were climbers, or still had access to a UFC gym and they were fighters. And so, you know, overall, I would say as far as kids in the city, they definitely, their fitness has went down. But just as a general answer, you know, you have to be in the environment that you want to be fit for. And if you're going to be at home, you know, do you want to be fit for at home? I don't think anybody, you know, wants to be fit to sit on a couch and walk up and down steps and that's it. Hopefully we want more than that. And at some point we have to get out into the world and be in that environment.
So a great idea to have this panel, a great choice of speakers. And I wondered if you would be willing to share from the physical educator. I'm sorry, I don't have all the names. You suggested that the children practice throwing socks, right? And maybe even aiming the socks. Could each of you give us your most creative idea that you developed in order to teach through Zoom? Go ahead. Go ahead, Grace. Backpack workout.
I had a lot of people who didn't have weights at home, and then you couldn't get weights. So backpack, and you put whatever you want in there, and we use that for body weight, adding to our body weight. And my other favorite tool is laundry detergent bottles. Right?
Okay.
That is the handles. You can row with it. You can curl with it, as long as you keep the cap on tight. Those are my two faves.
First the detergent, and then you can roll up the socks and throw it against the wall.
Another good one that we've done, I mean, I have many in the arsenal, but so New York Roadrunners has a bunch of 5Ks all throughout the city, and I believe, if I remember right, I don't remember at what point, but they started doing them again, even during COVID. So I would have kids run a 5K, but in the house. So what it was we just did the math, and that's a fun little thing to do as well. How many steps, if we do 2 steps per second, and we do it for a minute, how long would it take us to run a 5K? And so in the first 5 minutes of class every day, we would take our steps together, and the kids were very motivated because they knew they were going to eventually run a 5K. So we do 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes, you know, until eventually we finally ran it, and they all got a certificate, and it was so exciting. They all ran a 5K, and then I reminded them of all the places that they could actually go and run a 5K in their neighborhood, and, you know, places they could go with their parents and things like that.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
So I think for the most part, yes, I started to become a little bit more creative with my workouts, but I did at the same time kept it basic, like simple. We're gonna do push-ups, we're gonna do squats, we're gonna attempt to do like variation of pull-ups, but we're gonna add tempo, hold it, go at this count down, like 5 count down. Like I would just adjust the tempo as much as I can. because you could get a lot out of doing the basics. And I made sure I emphasized that, yeah, we're doing the basics, but there's a lot of importance in doing that, and you're still going to achieve your goals by doing the same thing all the time.
Mr. Joseph?
I did something called train the trainer. So I had my clients broke through progressions. They were able to train me for like 15 minutes, and yeah, they had a lot of fun. They were torturous.
Awesome. Any other questions? That was wonderful. That was a great job, guys.